You're listening to DraftKings Network.
You know that sound. It's the sound of money hitting your Venmo account, a friend paying you back, or maybe it's getting cash back from your favorite business when you pay with the Venmo debit card, or it's realizing you can pay with Venmo at checkout at thousands of brands. Now, there are so many more ways to answer the question, what's your Venmo? Download Venmo today. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. pursuant to license by MasterCard International Incorporated. Dosh Cashback terms apply. You know that sound. It's the sound of money hitting your Venmo account, a friend paying you back, or maybe it's getting cash back from your favorite business when you pay with the Venmo debit card, or it's realizing you can pay with Venmo at checkout at thousands of brands. Now, there are so many more ways to answer the question, what's your Venmo? Download Venmo today. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. pursuant to license by MasterCard International Incorporated. Dosh Cashback terms apply.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
I'm not going to start in the obvious place. We'll get there in a second. But something happened before the show that I want to address because I was envious of what happened in the other room. I saw a door swing open, and I saw an entire room light up and react to news that they had received. I thought someone's, did Udonis Haslem walk in? What happened over there? And then big news was broken to me. And God, I am so jealous of Taylor, who got to deliver this huge news. Chris, what was the news that you guys received that made that entire room light up?
It was baseball related. If we start there as a hint, like what could I say in the baseball realm that would get the room fired up? And I'll tell you, it's the Yankees getting rid of their beard policy.
Wow. That's insane news.
It's
and
huge.
Worthy of
We
that
all
reaction.
screamed. I think we did it. I think it was us. We were the tipping point.
Tony, I think you're absolutely right. Our edition of Who Dat Is, the most recent one, where we couldn't get two of the most recent Yankee signings because Paul Goldschmidt looks Dominican all of a sudden when he's clean shaven.
a Hall of Famer. Guy's a Hall of Famer, and none of us knew him.
Totally unrecognizable, clean shaven. So I'm glad that the Yankees, and look, America's already on the rebound. Nature is healing. The country is healing, at least in sports terms.
George Steinbrenner is rolling over in his grave right now.
Jess, do you have an official statement? This is worthy of an official statement from the New York Yankees.
Yeah, it says statement from Yankees managing general partner Hal Steinbrenner. Alteration of Yankees facial hair policy. In recent weeks, I've spoken to a large number of former and current Yankees spanning several eras to elicit their perspectives on our longstanding facial hair and grooming policy, and I appreciate their earnest and varied feedback. These most recent conversations are an extension of ongoing internal dialogue that dates back several years. Ultimately, the final decision rests with me, and after great consideration, we will be amending our expectations to allow our players and uniform personnel to have well-groomed beards moving forward. It is the appropriate time to move beyond the familiar comfort of our former policy.
Well-groomed beards.
It took him a while to have this conversation, eh?
It took them a while to just say, hey, you can grow a beard. That's
Who determines
a lot.
what's well groomed?
How many PR firms helped craft that?
The dean of my Catholic school determines what is well-groomed.
Someone or some company made at least $600,000 coming up with that statement.
And I
to
still
say.
stumbled over Hal for some reason.
Man, this just teaches me change is possible.
Yeah.
I would have never thought that they would do this, and they did.
Hooray us, hooray Yankees. This is great. This can only help the game. Thank you, us. All right. So speaking of growing niche sports, let's talk about hockey last night. He's the best player in the world. You may want to mark him.
That was ridiculous.
All right. So, look, headline, great for the sport. They gave us a week in February, a random week in February that we all really came together and argued about politics, and it was great. And we loved the game of hockey. The hockey was top-of-the-line stuff. You had a great game, deliver on all the hype and expectation. I'm sure this number is going to be massive. You lose in overtime, that's tough. I understand that. But how you lose in overtime really twists a knife a little bit because number 97 is Connor McDavid. Overrated. I think we can drop that for a little bit. Pretty big goal that he scored last night. He's the best player in the world. he's wide open in front of the net. He's wide open in front of the net, and that's number 34 that is supposed to be marking him, Austin Matthews, who in the group chat I saw was referred to as Austin Badthews, who did not have the greatest tournament. I know he set some people up, and defensively he played all right, but this is a huge mistake from a Selke finalist, one of the top defending forwards in the league. You cannot do this.
From face-off dot to face-off dot, top of the face-off circle to the bottom of the face-off circle. That's how much room that he had. It was a full, like they were in Rhode Island. That's how wide open they were.
It's not only Matthews skates away from McDavid in that defensive spot. He had 3 scoring chances minutes earlier. So Matthews had, on both ends of the ice, a chance to do what McDavid did in his first chance in overtime. He got the puck, and he stuck it home top corner.
Maybe. I mean, I wasn't rooting against Team USA. I swear to God, I wasn't. However, when I heard, as I was falling asleep, I heard the game-winning goal call. I did do a
yeah.
When I heard Connor McDavid had scored, I did a and then I rolled over and fell asleep.
Mike, Jordan Bennington, the start overtime.
Yeah, he was incredible. Made 3 huge key saves.
Went back to 2019.
Yeah, he was incredible for them. But I think we all kind of had the Alonzo Mourning reaction to that goal, which is not the result we wanted, but certainly the result we deserved.
What I don't
balance of things.
What I don't get though is we're gonna play this Marchand sound where he's kind of going at the Kachuk brothers for giving them bulletin board material. Before we play the Marchand sound, what did they guarantee victory? Like, what is he talking about here? Were they just, was it the fights at the first game? Like, I don't understand though. But he specifically says when you're running your mouth in the media. Like, what were their quotes?
I'll address that because I know what he's talking about. Here's Brad Marchand, who I hate immensely. This guy sucks. He's a rat. But congrats to him. He gets to be the winner on the day. Let's hear what he had to say post game.
Sometimes when you shoot your mouth off in the media, it bites you. You can do that during the season, but when you're playing best on best, it's different, and they get a little bit ahead of themselves. But they're great players, and there's not many guys in the league that play the way they do, and they're extremely effective. But when you start giving teams ammo, it can work against you as well.
So the running the mouth, and the Kachuk brothers, they can run their mouth primarily on the ice. But what he's referring to is what happened after the United States beat Canada 4-1 in Montreal. They were asked about the fight, and they said that it came up in the group chat. And in the ensuing days, I think Brendan Hagel said, we don't have a group chat. And then Matthew Kachuk was asked about that while he was sitting next to his brother. He's like, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe they don't like each other. That's what he's referring to. That is repressed Canadian male emotion right there. For them to take such issue with the group chat thing is, I don't know, kind of weird to me, because then look at this, and credit to Canada, good banter. From Trudeau on down. They deserve it. Look, we certainly deserve it. But do we have the still of Brendan Hagel's IG story? So a group chat big breaking news, a group chat has finally been formed. Brendan Hagel has given evidence of this, and it's called Champions with a big Canadian flag. And cool. I can see Sam Reinhart's in that. Glad he made the cut. Brad Marchand's in it.
Sidney Crosby's in it.
227 unread messages. Is he in our hockey group chat?
He must be in our hockey group chat. Man, that's a highlight group chat on a given day. But
they're all just Ethan.
Special.
You have no idea how much that cuts for poor Ethan. There's at least 33% of the main group chats have Ethan muted. I love Ethan though. When he's in, he's all in. He's all in. Volume shooter. But he makes some occasionally. Love you, Ethan. Ethan is wearing a hockey jersey today.
Again today.
As a big surprise. I guess he's going to a steakhouse after the show.
Tune into Mystery Crate to hear that story.
Yeah. All right. God bless Ethan. The group chat thing is weird. The really seizing on it. I guess, man, you want to talk... really reaching for bulletin board material here. It's USA Canada. When you have the president insulting your country as a whole in 51st state, to seize on the group chat thing is a little odd. I don't really get what's happening there. But let's go back to the macro, the whole theater of this thing that culminated with last night's incredible moment.
That was an all-star game.
Was that the immediate pivot, Chris?
You've got to be
all-star
kidding me.
tournament.
Was that the immediate
exhibition?
great exhibition.
I mean, honestly, I felt better about USA losing when I saw how indifferent they get their chance with the cup like they do with the Stanley Cup.
They didn't care.
Dude, the hockey players with Stanley Cup, they do a full lap around the arena. It's like you can see them like, oh my God, the Canadian guys with that trophy, they went like 10 feet, turned around, handed it to the next guy. Like it did, like I know I'm reaching here, but it did make me feel a little better about the loss.
Yeah, a couple reasons for that. No one grew up wondering about the day that they might possibly lift the Four Nations Cup. I mean, it's just the Four Nations.
I just love the way we were talking about this 4 days ago.
Oh, no, I cared
like
so
it's
much.
the greatest event that was ever created in the history of sports and made the NHL far surpass the NBA and everything
And
that
it
we've
would've
ever
been
imagined
if
about
the US
leagues.
won.
And if the U.S. won, it would have been the greatest thing that's ever happened. But as we said, it was just a geopolitical moment that was sweeping everybody up. And it will never, ever, ever, ever be as cool as it was 4 days ago.
All right, shut up, Connie.
You could do the Four
enough.
Four Nations Cup
That's
for
enough.
100 years. It'll never be as
you
cool
wanna
as
talk
it was 4
Wemby?
days ago.
I'm sure let's talk Wemby and how the NBA is in shambles right now. Look,
NBA is not in shambles, by
the
the way.
NBA
It's
is
insane
dead.
what you guys
NBA
have
is
been
doing a
NBA
great
is
job.
dead.
Crazy people.
I love the NBA.
What?
What?
So,
No.
Jeremy, you seized on that.
I don't.
I wholeheartedly still stand by my statements. This was awesome. This was the biggest thing. I would love to have won it. It hurts
Glad you
to
enjoyed
lose
it while it was cool.
It's still cool. It was still the best. And like, I can't wait for next year in the Olympics. Now we have a great storyline. They hadn't played best on best, these nations, in 11 years. And all you had was, a historic rivalry. The U.S. got the better of them in the World Cup of Hockey in 1996. I remember watching that as a little kid and knowing what a big moment that was. But recently, when these two nations have met in finals, it usually ends in heartbreak. In fact, Sidney Crosby has 5 medals to his name, 5 gold medals in international hockey. The United States as a whole have 4 in their history. So we are absolutely little brother here. And it was weird. It was weird in how the politics of it, the media coverage of it. We somehow gave Canada the right to be the underdog in hockey. I mean, they at certain points in this tournament, they had Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, and Cale Makar on the ice. They are not the underdog. Like, if we're doing this in video games, their overall team score is higher than the overall team score of the United States. But the United States had the vibes. They had the attitude. They were hosting the final. This was a pick'em game when it came to betting lines, and most of the action was on the United States. But make no mistake about it, the United States is always going to be the underdog against Canada, and something weird happened, maybe politically, where that narrative switched, and you can't give the more talented team also the right to call themselves underdog. That's weird.
Well, going into this tournament, I mean, their inspiration was Johnny Gaudreau, and his death and the memorial lies in him in this tournament.
The fans
overshadowed.
The fans chanting Johnny Hockey was awesome.
That was awesome.
It was a great moment.
Michael
Ruzioni
Ruzioni
coming out in the Johnny Gaudreau hockey sweater. Yeah, that got buried. That got buried by all this ridiculousness as it made
Great
it
show.
to the cable. No, I don't think anybody would agree with that.
Oh, it's a great show.
No,
it's
it
good,
is
just
not.
background television. Ridiculousness? Just
Terrible.
put it on.
I mean,
Always
like
on at the barbershop.
2010 maybe.
Come on, still
I
slaps.
feel like we've
How many
we've already
times?
seen all of it.
How many times did Canada have to have too many men on the ice before they were going to call it?
The puck was too close to the bench.
But they had it like there was multiple times where the announcers were like, "That could have been too many men."
Yeah, it seemed pretty like the one penalty that I think they only called one penalty the
Yeah, it
entire
was on
game.
United
It had to
States.
be like super obvious. You knew that the stripes weren't going to be.
Yeah, it was
calling
playoff
any
rules in this
penalties.
one.
Which I loved. Look, top of the line effort, great theater, great drama. The players caring. Matthew Tkachuk's probably not going to play for a few games for the Florida Panthers. It's insane that the players that were in this tournament have to turn around now and start playing for their clubs in 2 days, some tomorrow.
Can we put back up the Canadian group chat? I'm wondering with all this group chat talk, if there's like USA players or Canadian players not in these group chats, and they're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah,
I'm hearing all
there's got to
about
be a
these group
green phone.
chats.
There's got to be a green text.
Like Swayman's like, "Why am I not in these group chats?"
Yeah, I like the idea of there being like maybe Cale Makar, in this group chat. Man, shout out to the NHL. They got this right. And it's not just the NHL. The players also have to show that they wanted to do this. And the Players Union were a driving force. International hockey means a lot to these guys. And I know PK went viral drawing comparisons to the effort to the NBA and the NHL, but that's also one of the other storylines that was unfortunately bigger than the Johnny Gaudreau thing. And I understand the Johnny Gaudreau thing is for hockey puckheads that know the story. For me, that was prevalent throughout this tournament. It wasn't what was headlining cable news. We all know that. But it happening during this kind of weird inflection point for the NBA, as I want to get to the Wemby stuff now too, is really interesting because there were abuelitas that were watching this game last night. This was huge for the sport of hockey. I don't know if that's sustained momentum, but like I said, the Panthers play tomorrow. There's a lot of people that are going to identify with this, and it's really unfortunate that Matthew Tkachuk got hurt because he has shown time and time again on grand stages that he's willing to be the superstar. He's willing to be the face of hockey, and you would love to just keep that momentum going. But I cannot think about this NHL exhibition tournament, whatever you may call it, best on best though, and not think about the NBA. And the NBA had a crushing blow yesterday with the Victor Wembanyama news. And this is really serious. As Heat fans know that went through the Chris Bosh thing, like this is career in jeopardy type of stuff. Now, there have been reassurances that they think he's going to be fine. They caught it. It has not spread. They caught it in the shoulder. But this is a really scary thing. Tony, were you the first on this beat?
I had some information that was given to me that I kind of had seen the writing on the wall of like, hey, something's happening with Wemby. And Mike, you talk about the deep vein thrombosis thing. Obviously, Chris Bosh had that. But Brandon Ingram also had almost basically the same exact thing that Wemby had, which is a shoulder. So I'm not a doctor. Obviously, I only play one on TV. But
thank you for clarifying.
Those blood clots obviously can move around your body into places that I think Serena a couple years ago had one like in her chest, in her lung or something. Like there's a lot of things that blood clots can do. Luckily, they caught this. They were talking about how Wemby was very sluggish, how he was very just kind of like, he looked tired. He looked exhausted 24/7. Obviously, you're playing an NBA schedule and flying and doing all these different things. You're going to feel pretty exhausted. But the team was like, wait, something just isn't right here. Obviously, ended up finding that he had that. It's tough for the NBA right now. But the good thing is that in 6 months when the season starts again, he'll be back and ready to go. And I thought there was something interesting where Anthony Edwards, who is obviously bravado, who is face of the league in a sense, got asked during the All-Star game. I don't know if, Jeremy, you saw this. It was like, hey, are you ready to be the face of the league? Or is that your place? And he's like, nah, that's Wemby. Yeah. Like, Wemby's going to be the face of the league, not me.
It is. I mentioned that this week on the show. The face of the NBA is Victor Wembanyama. And 48 hours later, he's out for the rest of the season. And there were some Bosh parallels because when Bosh had his second one, remember, Bosh bounced back after the pulmonary embolisms. And then there was like a weird skills competition. And Victor Wembanyama had a weird skills competition, which feels a little weirder now with the news.
Funny.
Yeah, and so there are parallels there. For Bosh, when the second one popped up, he's on blood thinners for life. That's not necessarily going to be the case here for Victor Wembanyama, which was actually the solution. The cure for Chris Bosh is what caused the end of his career, which was the blood thinners.
That's exactly right. And with Wemby, he will go on blood thinners to fix this blood clot, but that's the whole thing. You really can't play sports on blood thinners. That's why heart issues become a thing and players are immediately out of the league. So for Wemby, at least the reporting thus far and everything that the Spurs have said indicates, like Tony said, he'll be back at the start of next season, and they'll go from there. They right now were a couple of games out of a play-in spot anyhow, and so they have their own first-round pick. If you're looking at the future of the Spurs, him now missing this amount of time and getting them in the top 3 or 4 of the draft and landing Cooper Flag inevitably.
Stop that.
We can't let that happen.
Nope.
I'm just letting you know.
We can't let that happen.
If you don't think that's a possibility that they end up in the top 3 and land... If not, Cooper Flag and Ace Bailey or whoever is going to be right there to help catapult them with De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama. I mean, look, it's the Spurs. All that said, this is a scary thing. Anytime blood clots pop up, you're you're worried for the future of anyone's athletic career. With Wemby being everything that he is, not just as this athletic freak who was going to win Defensive Player of the Year, who's one of the most dominant forces in the league already in year 2, you also have all these guys like Anthony Edwards across the league embracing that's the guy. Wemby's the guy that all of us are willing to look at and go, he has everything that's needed in terms of personality, in terms of demeanor, in terms of competitiveness to be out here as the face of the NBA. So when you miss that guy for the second half of the season and a chase for a play-in spot, of course, that's awful news for the league.
I'm wondering what this did to his memorabilia market, because that's Wemby's the hottest name in terms of cards and memorabilia. So I wonder if are things crashing? Are people buying low? How do you?
I think it's a huge blow, not just for the Spurs. However, the first name that I thought of was Chris Bosh. The second name that I thought of was David Robinson, because the Spurs were in a similar position. They had David Robinson. He got hurt. They put themselves in position to get Tim Duncan. And if they get Cooper Flagg out of this whole thing, that's incredible for the franchise.
I don't like it one bit.
I don't
like it one bit.
But I think
fishy.
The league could have really used Victor Wembanyama in the postseason. I think it's a huge blow. You worry about the rest of his career, because if this pops up again, you have the very recent comparison with Chris Bosh that, okay, that's blood thinners for life, right? We can't. He's a liability out there. You can't put him out there, and that's hugely unfortunate. And I'll address the elephant in the room with my initial Victor Wembanyama takes. This was not what I had in mind. Okay, when I talked about his long-term health and his fragility, I was thinking maybe ankle. All right, and knee, ligaments.
No victory lap for you today.
Yeah, no victory lap. I was made very uncomfortable with the amount of text messages and DMs that I got.
Mike, Wemby.
You were right.
You're wait, what?
It's a dub. An unfortunate dub.
A victor lap would be funny.
How are you taking a victory lap today? I feel like Jer Bear should be taking the victory lap.
For being right about everything involving hockey ever?
Whoa.
How are you right?
How was I right?
Are you politicizing this?
Last week.
I'm politicizing?
Yeah, you're politicizing
it was
this.
me. It was me. I was the one who politicized
Let's just
it. I was the one who did that.
The last week and a half was awesome for hockey.
Yeah, it was super cool.
There was also a lot of politics involved with it.
Yeah, and everything I said was right.
What'd you say?
What did you say?
Remind
On
me.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
When I told you guys that inevitably Team USA would embrace Trump because the overwhelming majority of the roster is right-leaning, and so in turn, when he embraced the team, they would continue to embrace it and politicize it in a moment that only was being followed by the abuelitas that you mentioned because of this political moment, and all of those people will drop off the face of the earth and the tournament will never be as cool again.
Did they embrace it? I didn't even see the
apparently he's done in-depth reporting, and he's seen their voter registration.
I'm asking, what did they do to embrace him? I didn't
every quote that came out after his phone call.
Bill Guerin. No, not every quote. You got a quote from J.T. Miller and a quote from Bill Guerin.
And there was I'll find another one if you'd like.
No, but you clearly had seen all their voter ID cards.
Did he give them a pump-up speech or something?
He spoke on, was it Bill Guerin that came in with the speakerphone?
Yes.
All right, so we know where Bill... I think it's safe to say, given the Fox News interview hit that Bill Guerin did, where he lines up politically.
And remind me of his title?
Quotes. He's a general manager.
Yeah, that's right.
What does that mean?
He knew already.
Mike Jeremy's an ally. Mike Jeremy's an ally.
Would you like me to go into the political donations of Pat Riley and Mickey Arison?
No, but we should do that while Dan's out. That would be a hilarious bit.
Let's do that and throw a blanket over.
Pat Riley's
let's throw a blanket over an entire organization because of a general manager.
Well, and players and
look. I mean, it's safe to assume.
Crazy.
I understand what you're doing.
Was he rooting for the Canadians?
I definitely.
Was this guy rooting for the Canadians?
Hell, the Canadians aren't conservative, not at all. No, the Canadian hockey players. No, Wayne Gretzky's only playing golf with 45 and 47 all the time and being encouraged to run for Prime Minister of Canada.
The great one.
Yeah, the great one. So, look, there's conservatives everywhere. We have to try our best to make this work. I don't like it either. And yes, I looked at the screen cap and I tried to identify who's smiling.
I know who was smiling.
Austin Matthews, you got a huge smile on your face. I know what you want to do with Matthew, and I'm not so sure there, pal.
No, I think it's more progressive, actually.
Yeah, just given, if you want to read into quotes and what Matthew Tkachuk has said, I know he spoke very excitedly, proud to be an American at the White House, but
what
he's also
do you expect him to say?
Yeah,
he's one of the captains of Team USA going into this tournament. What do you expect him to say?
He's been really good about shielding that. But when it came to the rainbow stick tape, Matthew Tkachuk's been on the right side of that. I think Matthew Tkachuk is playing this about as well as you can, but I don't know the political leanings. I think it's safe to say
no one's asking you to go like
player by player.
It's just that I've seen fans say that the current feeling of patriotism is a little icky when the president of the United States is threatening the sovereignty of our friendliest neighbor, threatening tariffs, all of that. I think that was Jeremy's point.
Mm-hmm. And that it would have been embraced differently had you been said it. Because we were talking about this in the context of the NBA All-Stars and the NHL All-Stars. And obviously, if you were sending the NBA All-Stars up to Canada, this all goes
we would
a
be
little
rooting
bit
for them
differently.
too.
Yeah. Oh, it's not who we would be rooting for. I root for the United States of America. I'm
don't
not
know about that, but
anti-American.
So sure.
Like,
so sure.
Okay.
We'll put it on the poll. Put it on the poll. It's Jeremy Taché.
Are you guys crazy?
Folks, did you know that sleep is one of the most important parts of recovery? Whether you're a pro athlete or just looking to crush your day, getting the right kind of rest is key. And that's where Sleep Number Smart Beds comes in. Since 2018, Sleep Number has partnered with the NFL to help elite athletes get quality sleep that they need to perform at their best. In fact, 80% of NFL players sleep on Sleep Number Smart Beds. Tough workout? The Sleep Number Smart Bed can be adjusted to suit your needs. Firmer one night, softer the next, giving you the ultimate recovery boost. And let's talk about those sweaty, sleepless nights. The new Climate Cool Smart Bed adjusts up to 15 degrees cooler on either side with scientifically designed cooling programs to keep you comfortable and undisturbed. Sleep Number Smart Beds don't just help you sleep, they learn how you sleep, providing personalized insights to help you get even better rest. It's like having a sleep coach right in your bedroom. Why choose a Sleep Number Smart Bed? So you can choose your ideal comfort on either side. And now, save 50% on the new Sleep Number Limited Edition Smart Bed. Limited time, exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. See store or sleepnumber.com for details.
Hey friends, it's Jer Bear here, and I'm here to tell you all about Boost Mobile, which is now a legit nationwide 5G network. So I must take a break from the jokes here for a second and put on my serious voice, because I would never, ever joke about a 5G network that has invested billions building 5G towers across the country. Not even once. Not even if Mr. Boost Mobile himself asked me to. There is nothing funny about it. Boost Mobile is now a legit nationwide 5G network and also provides coverage across 99% of America. Seriously. Visit boostmobile.com or your nearest Boost Mobile store location to learn more. The Boost Mobile network, together with our roaming partners, covers 99% of the U.S. population. 5G speeds, not available in all areas.
You know that sound. It's the sound of money hitting your Venmo account. A friend paying you back. Or maybe it's getting cash back from your favorite business when you pay with the Venmo debit card. Or it's realizing you can pay with Venmo at checkout at thousands of brands. Now, there are so many more ways to answer the question, what's your Venmo? Download Venmo today. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. pursuant to license by MasterCard International Incorporated. Dosh Cashback terms apply.
Dan Le Batard.
There is no question, Dan Le Batard show included, anybody else, that this guy is the best player on the planet. Whether he wins the Stanley Cup or the Conn Smythe this year, there is no question about it.
Stugotz.
Overrated? Wait, did someone say overrated? What's going on?
Dan Le Batard, how you doing?
Are we living in an altered world or what?
Oh, my goodness. So
This is the Dan Le Batard show with the Stugotz.
I get what you're saying.
If you re-listen to Tuesday's show,
You might have a different perspective.
Jeremy got shouted down on a number of points that were then
Proven right within 12 hours.
But again, he's lifting up a JT Miller quote and a Bill Guerin quote and projecting that over an entire team, which I think is a little unfair.
I'm projecting it over a moment, Mike. I'm talking
you
about
cannot
how,
talk about this moment without the politics.
Right, that's all I did from the beginning, was saying how this moment...
I think if you re-listen to this segment, you would feel a little bit differently.
I'm taking a victory lap.
Yeah,
a victory lap.
But that's the thing. You're taking a victory lap. And
Victory rat.
Look, I'm sure this wasn't like when the U.S. women were being attacked by men 45. And that was kind of ideal if you were on one side of the political spectrum because you got to be a patriot. You knew where you were aligned ideologically with the players, and it was like a great moment. Megan Rapinoe, that's like, okay, yeah, you get to pound your chest and wrap yourself in the flag. You get to be patriotic, and you get to stand up to someone that is your oppressor the way that you feel. Like, that's a great moment. This one's way more complicated.
Right.
As is everything right now. Overly complicated, and I do not like from a side of the aisle that during the Kaepernick thing wanted a clear division of politics and sport. And now, like many people in the past, you have a leader that is using the avenue of sports to not just normalize some of this behavior. As Steve Bannon gives a very clear Nazi salute at a CPAC.
Yeah.
Very clear Nazi salute. Like, this is abhorrent behavior. I understand why it's hard to disassociate some of this stuff. You know where I stand on this stuff. I have a very difficult time reconciling what's in the news. But then I hear Freebird.
Right.
And I see players.
This is the whole thing.
There's a lot of athletes that former athletes that are conservative that I'm friends with. I live in Miami. It's why the echo chamber thing is insane to me. I'm a second-generation Cuban.
We don't even have to do all of that. I think the point is just that a lot of people are trying to pretend like this wasn't tense for a particular reason last week. A lot of people are trying to pretend that that's not the case.
It was only as intense as it was because of what the moment was. And that was what I was saying then, and it's what I'd continue to say now.
I think it would be plenty intense, and I don't think the intensity from the players would be any different if that storyline was not there. Trust me when I say
You're right.
From the news perspective, he's right.
What I'm talking about is the gloms of people who have flocked to what this All-Star weekend was, who had zero interest in hockey before this.
Press secretaries alike.
Correct.
Yes.
And so
I'm with
using
you.
it as a vehicle, and the issue for someone on my side of the aisle, whether you're as far to my side of the aisle or a little bit closer to the middle, it was a difficult thing to put all of that aside. To find myself
impossible
rooting for these guys who, by the way, like the Panthers on the team, Matthew Tkachuk, like these guys are awesome guys. I'm not trying to disparage any of those human beings for what they were going through. It was a pretty intense thing to have on your back on top of wanting to, honor Johnny Gaudreau. There's a lot going on
hugely unfair,
there.
I think, to these players.
Right.
Who
and
were
so that
kind of professional and rolling with this.
Yeah, they did what they could. But, I mean, obviously, there's some bites that come out and, I'll see them, anyone else will see them. You get frustrated, but you don't have a long, in-depth conversation with other players on the team who might not feel that way. At the same time, it became really difficult to view this game and this tournament through any prism outside of what an administration that is, at the same time, doing some of the most heinous things I've seen while I'm alive on this planet, and then wrapping themselves in the American flag around this hockey team.
It's tough. I get you 100%. I can say that the players, they didn't care about that stuff. That was not really talked about. Like
that's totally fine. I'm just saying, like Justin Trudeau tweeted last night, you can't take our country or our game. Politics was a big part of the storylines of this tournament, and that's, I think, just
it's why 1980 mattered.
Right? That tweet did numbies though. 9.4 million views.
Big numbies. Look, Chris and I were in a group that went up to Montreal. It would not have felt as tense were not for the political situation right now that the U.S. finds itself in, seemingly by its own doing. No, not seemingly, totally by its own doing. We've never, ever had an issue with Canada, and now all of a sudden, a really friendly nation is booing our anthem straight to our face. Like, it's not great. It's impossible to ignore. The players did their best in navigating this. Outside of maybe one wayward JT Miller thing that you could really read into, no one gave a quote that's like, man, damn, you really let me down there. So credit to them. Hockey players are pretty good that way. They're not going to give you too much because then Brad Marchand may seize on something totally innocuous. I do want to say, though, that I want to credit this team for how well that they handled all this stuff. They could have come out and made this an uber distraction. They didn't. They let it. Hey, there were people, Jeremy, and people that feel like Jeremy, that were tuning into this specifically because they wanted to get one over on Canada because the cult of personality is such. Yeah, you're already in on 50 on the 51st state, and it's kind of like Republicans buy shoes too. Like Team USA, they did nothing to dissuade puckheads that really didn't want the politics being infused into this kind of tournament. They did nothing to dissuade us from it, really. And they certainly didn't do anything to dissuade the people that were coming to this game for that, too. In terms of being able to capture a market and know how to grow your game, I got to say that the players played this to perfection. I have my thoughts about Bill Guerin, but what can you do?
The other player quote that I had seen, I remembered seeing more, and it was Noah Hannafin who said, hopefully we can get the win tonight for our country and for Trump.
Well, okay, that's Noah Hannafin, yeah.
Well, there's two.
There's two. Again, I'm not going to project over an entire team. I think it's safe to say, like, white, rich athletes in hockey, you can estimate, you can do your best to try to figure it out. I think you'd be shocked to know how many people on the Canada side are kind of. I know it's a progressive nation.
No, I would be shocked.
I don't think anyone would be shocked.
There you go.
We know. Yes, we understand that people with a lot of money tend to skew more conservative.
It's like when I'm watching the Masters, I'm like, do you think he might be a lib? No, I'm kind of make my
Tiger Woods
assumption.
was at the White House yesterday.
Yeah, celebrating.
Our social
Black
team
History
really
Month.
put is Jeremy Taché anti-American on Twitter.
Thank God.
Caboclasion.
Here's the thing. Do we need to have everybody that we watch in sports be on one side or the other? Like, does
I
it
voted
matter?
yes.
Thank you. I'm going to vote yes after. But does it matter? Like, oh, this guy's Republican, this guy's a Democrat. Like, we're watching the games. Like, are we really that invested with the polarization of politics?
In this moment,
to be like, oh, man, JT Miller said
Tony,
something.
That's not what we're talking about.
But that's not what we're saying.
But you guys are parsing.
This is
you guys
a
are parsing.
sporting event between
I hear you.
teams that represent two countries, where one
hear
country
you.
is
But we do
threatening
this
the other
across
country.
all sports. Oh my God, Tom Brady said what to who? He's got a hat where? Like, we do this all the time. Oh, this person is progressive. Okay, great.
What I don't
I'm going
like,
to root for him more.
What
You
I
know
don't.
what I mean?
What I don't like is
Well, yes,
that's a
because
message.
progressivism stands for like having basic human rights
Yes.
at
Right,
this
but
point in history.
but my
like,
point
do you
is-
believe that gay people should be married? I don't know. Well,
my
if you
point is
don't, I
this.
might judge you a little bit for
But my
that.
point is this:
Exactly.
we're watching a game, right? Let's just watch the game, right? It
But
doesn't have.
But they're not allowing, and by there I say conservatives, because that was the message when Kaepernick was doing his thing, and it's very convenient to flip the script and just be like, hey, go ahead and deal with it. Okay, I'm dealing with it. I'm a UFC fan. I see a political rally at UFC New York. I see a victory lap. I see every winning fighter go over there and get congratulated by the president. It's kind of impossible at that point for me to draw the line.
Okay, but it
especially when
affects
Dana
you.
White is fully endorsing.
Okay, I understand that. But my point is, you can just kind of be like, are you upset at that? Or are you like,
Yes.
okay, like, whatever, it is what it is.
I think you can be
I am upset by
disappointed
that.
by disagreeing
but
with
every
people's
single
politics.
time and
like,
every
I think
single-
that
I
that's
want to hear.
okay.
I want to hear what Jess has to say. Yeah,
There's plenty of players that I love watching who I'm incredibly disappointed by constantly, and I still love sports and I still watch sports all the time. I love football. I enjoy the shit out of it. I understand that a lot of my favorite players do not agree with me politically. It's tough. Sometimes there's a line that you draw and you decide, I'm not going to watch that person anymore. That's every person's individual decision as a consumer of the sports that we watch, and it's obviously a very shitty and unique situation that this tournament came at this time where these two countries are in the most tense situation they've ever been before.
It really is
in
remarkable,
history.
the timing.
And you can't ignore that. You just can't cover, like, a lot of people covering sports are being told by their bosses just to ignore all of that. But when the president of Canada is tweeting, you can't take our country after Canada wins, it's kind of tough to ignore that that's happening.
it is pretty crazy how all of this aligned, because the U.S. and Canada never had issues. As long as I've been alive, they've been
it's
friendly
been,
neighbors.
As a hockey fan, it's been awesome to shit on Canada my
Awesome.
whole life and make fun of them for not winning any Stanley Cups in my lifetime, even though all of their players were the stars of the team that I liked that won several Stanley Cups. But that's besides the point.
You had Kaner.
But tapes.
Yeah,
tapes.
but
I mean,
yeah, you had Kaner, but it's again, you have to do morally, I'm not really down with this guy, but go
or the
go
Blackhawks,
Hawks.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great, like, there's tons of ethical decisions that you make watching sports and just living in the world every single day. And no one is saying you should, like, change what sport you like because of whatever, Tony. Like, you are welcome to like what you like and do what you do. However, I just think it's hard to ignore, and that if you feel sort of icky and yucky rooting for a team when this is going on in the background, I understand that. That's all I'm saying.
Down the middle, Chris thinks this is an important conversation, and he's glad that we're having
I'm
it.
super glad that we're having it. The discourse is fascinating because, like, all this stuff happened at a moment in time where the politics were impossible to ignore. from the national anthems. They're booing the national anthem. Why are they booing the national anthem?
Well, they were booing it because the Canadian national anthem was so terrible.
Well, I heard that too. But you have...
Did we do that on purpose? That was the internet. They put a bad singer on purpose. Got him.
They should have had Greg do his song.
There was no outside framing. Like the Miracle on Ice, like you kind of knew the story geopolitically. This one, you had bad faith politicians, bad faith aggregators doing what they could to manipulate a storyline that couldn't give a shit less about the sport. And while all that circus was going on, again, credit to the NHL, they leaned into the circus. They played it down the middle, not non-political when it came to their presentation. They would acknowledge it. The players, for the most part, overwhelmingly didn't close any doors to people that were coming just for that, and they are legion. I think there's going to be a massive number. But the people that truly have a passion for the game, Roy, I feel like I can speak for you. This was an amazing experience. This was one of the best things, genuinely, one of the best things I've ever experienced around this sport. And that's not just because I went to some of the games. No, watching it on television. Yesterday was one of the iconic games in the sport's history.
Yeah, I think it might actually grow the sport because a lot of demographics that don't usually watch actually watch for the intrigue. So I think it might grow.
I can't believe that Yankee story.
Actually, I wanted to get back on the topic because we've been trying to discuss back here, like, who is the Yankees player who benefits the most from being able to have their facial hair now. So Taylor put together a few photos for us of before and after shots of Yankees with and without facial hair. So here, the first one is Devin Williams.
I'll take your word for it.
Going to be difficult to beat that.
Devin Williams?
Just looks great with a beard.
So good with a beard.
So much better with a beard.
That's not the same person. It's just flatly not. The eyes are closer together on the photo on the right. That's not the same person. You guys are trying to trick me.
And then, of course, we have Paul Goldschmidt next, who, you know, you
that's Paul Goldschmidt. Those are two different people.
That's not fair.
Looks thinner on the right, too.
Yeah. And the salt and pepper is great.
Yeah.
So
I
good.
love a salt and
If
pepper
I see the
beard.
salt and pepper in a beard, I'm like, it's Paul Goldschmidt.
Is that Gino?
I think we have one more. Let's see what the next one is.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, no. That can't be right.
Mike Ryan plays for the Yankees?
I'm really mad about this.
Taylor might not be here next week.
No.
Or
Guaranteed.
Hey there, wellness warriors. If you're like me, you've given a lot of thought to how to improve your health and wellness routine this year. I've started stretching more, do a little mindfulness and meditation every day, try to clear my mind, make my body feel right. Take your health routine to the next level with the magic of contrast therapy. Meet our new amazing sponsor, Redwood Outdoors. They're making it easy to bring the benefits of saunas and cold plunges right to your backyard. A Redwood Outdoors backyard sauna seats 2 to 8 people, where you can relax, unwind, and enjoy all the benefits like reduced muscle tension, improved sleep, and glowing skin. And it doesn't stop there. Redwood Outdoors' invigorating cold plunge helps to boost circulation, sharpen your focus, and leave you feeling absolutely revitalized. Whether it's detoxing deeper, reducing inflammation, or connecting with loved ones in moments of peace, Redwood Outdoors has you covered. Enhance your physical and mental wellness routines with Redwood Outdoors. Take advantage of special savings today. Visit redwoodoutdoors.com, use code DAN to save $175. That's redwoodoutdoors.com, code DAN to save $175 on your order. redwoodoutdoors.com, code DAN.
Hey friends, it's Jer Bear here, and I'm here to tell you all about Boost Mobile, which is now a legit nationwide 5G network. So I must take a break from the jokes here for a second and put on my serious voice, because I would never ever joke about a 5G network that has invested billions building 5G towers across the country. Not even once. Not even if Mr. Boost Mobile himself asked me to. There is nothing funny about it. Boost Mobile is now a legit nationwide 5G network and also provides coverage across 99% of America. Seriously. Visit boostmobile.com or your nearest Boost Mobile store location to learn more. The Boost Mobile network, together with our roaming partners, covers 99% of the U.S. population. 5G speeds, not available in all areas.